What do you think his favorite movie is?
God's favorite movie?
God's favorite movie.
All Dogs Go to Heaven.
Ants. Ant-Man.
You want to lead off? Did you write down notes or?
I wrote down notes, but I was like, but I wanted
You want
to
to see all my notes?
God, holy shit, bro! You wrote a fucking essay right there. See, and then I got notes, and it's like Ant-Man notes. It's like 4 notes, cause like it was one of those movies that I was just like, there is so much going on.
There was a lot.
It was very fast paced, and I thought like Multiverse of Madness was fast paced.
It's a lot to take in.
I
mean, it helps to have watched Multiverse of Madness because there's a lot that sets up in terms of explanation of multiverse. Like in Quantumania, they bring up the idea of incursions and whatnot, and how this version of Kang, the Conqueror version, his best idea is to just wipe out literally everything else. And it makes me think that there's different Kangs on each level of reality, trying to contain things in their own way. Example, He Who Remains is on the most outside of the universe you could be, literally sitting in the middle of this looped timeline. And then you go to Kang the Conqueror. He's as far in looking out as you can get. These two different comparing perspectives.
two different sides of the coin, sides of the spectrum type deal.
He Who Remains views it as a job. It's something that he's required to do out of it. With great power comes great responsibility. He feels it's his responsibility to contain it, keep it flowing smoothly. Whereas Kang the Conqueror views it from the opposite direction, the flip side of that coin. He thinks the only way to fix things is to burn it to the ground and start anew. Kind of a Thanos look on the entire timeline. I really like those two comparing ideals.
I like the fact that Kang the Conqueror isn't a nickname. It's the actual designation for him. Just the fact that Kang, the Conqueror Kang, is this variant. So the next variant we're gonna see could be we in theory could see Iron Lad.
Yeah.
It's separate Kangs. So we're not getting the same Kang throughout the entire timeline.
They're fighting every variation of Kang at once. Like, this isn't a battle between them and one other guy. This is a battle between them and an infinite number of this one guy.
Which is such a cool way of doing it, because I was sitting there watching it, and it wasn't until the end of the movie where I was like, how the fuck are they gonna beat this guy? It's like, how do you beat this guy who's traveling through time and that has that ability? They made it so he's lost all his powers. He got exiled to the quantum realm, and he's looking out now. To just see that it's not one person, it's multiples of these people, makes it feel much more believable that somebody like Ant-Man could beat Kang the Conqueror. Because he's not technically Kang the Conqueror, he's just Kang.
Who's just called the Conqueror.
Yeah, whose purpose is to be a conqueror.
Yeah, that's his ideal form of keeping the timeline stable, is just taking over and watching it. I like the idea that they don't know that Kang died. Like, the Council of Kangs says that he did, for a fact. But Scott has no idea whether what he did was right or wrong. And that, I like the idea that they keep believing this is all the same guy, but in reality, the scope of this enemy is beyond what they can comprehend.
It felt like kind of like a cop-out how they got rid of him, how they defeated Kang, but at the same time, it's a nice little callback to Ant-Man 1. And then
He keeps shrinking people further and further. Like, the next time he's gonna have to go down and Kang's gonna be big-headed. He's like, I'm not a dick. Shrink this other guy. How far can we make this shit go?
deeper into the quantum realm.
It's like, oh, it's an inner realm beneath the quantum realm. And it's got these people. This guy looks like a carrot. Instead of broccoli.
Instead of broccoli.
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 This story takes a lot of elements from other Disney properties. Did you notice that?
Yes, I felt very Star Wars-esque.
Yes, exactly. At the
Yes.
very end,
Yeah,
they send out this distress signal. Like, come help us fight now, please.
It wasn't even that got me. I don't mean to interrupt. It was the shot when it's all of them lining up, and Kang's like, I'm going to take over. And then it was like, you see all the fucking droids and the ships and shit, and I'm like, this is just Star Wars.
Yeah, and then all the rebels coming in at the last minute, and even they say, like, they came. That's taken directly from the last Star Wars movie.
Was a little all over the place in its, like, design and stuff. Like, I really liked the Quantum Realm. I thought the Quantum Realm was very well done. very beautiful design. CGI was a little bit all over the place, but it
It
wasn't.
was spotty at times, looked a little bit rubbery, especially when there's multiple duplicates of himself. I felt that was a little iffy. But overall, it's not terrible given the world they're trying to create. It's believable that maybe these things actually look this way because it's another entire universe other than ours that probably works on different forms of physics.
Well, 100%.
MODOK was they better not make him a fucking one-off villain.
I hope to God they fucking I don't.
He's weird. He's batshit crazy, but not in a dangerous way, just in a way that makes people uncomfortable.
And that would be the perfect aim for him too. No pun intended.
He's never gonna be in charge of AIM. They're never bringing that back.
They fucking killed that shit. They killed MODOK. I'm pouring one out for my boy MODOK. Zach, edit some bubbling onto the microphone now.
I thought you were gonna pour that into my popcorn. I was gonna be upset.
He had his moments. It's definitely nice to see his kind of like chaotic, goofy side compared to Kang's serious, to have like that dynamic of villains.
I think he was underutilized. They should have done more with him. He's immediately an interesting character because he's actually somebody who's fought Scott before, and he's just so rattled in his head through everything he's been through, and he's got those tiny ass butt cheeks hanging out.
He fucking MODOK
like
ass.
a wet noodle, like a
Did you
like a blanket.
So did you see how he's connected? He has no neck. His head consumed his torso.
That's so wild. So the entire body of his is shrunk, but the head is huge. Kind of like a human light bulb. This Kang is not as imposing as He Who Remains. There's something fundamentally different about the two. Because He Who Remains doesn't need to fight. Because he literally knows what's going to happen. And I think every version of Kang thinks they know what's going to happen. He Who Remains is just, he's on a different level than Kang. Kang could probably do what He Who Remains does, but he just sees it in this completely different way, the situation they're all in.
The He Who Remains is like basically the good ending of Kang. He realizes his power and the ability that he holds, so he uses it for good to ensure that no harm comes to anybody else. Whereas then everybody else is like, well, I have this power. You can kind of see it in the bit when Ant-Man's in the multiverse, when they're all kind of fighting amongst each other and trying to figure out, everybody has different ideas, but then they all
Which
come
is basically
together.
that one scene from Rick and Morty where everybody splits off with their possibilities.
Yeah, and then
Again, borrowing, quote unquote, borrowing.
I really like the costume designs of everybody in the quantum realm.
It's very Shark Boy Lava Girl. It's Shark Boy and Lava Girl in the way that there's colorful outfits, it's a strange land that works by strange rules, and there's a guy with a big fucking face.
No, they just threw...
What a waste of Bill Murray. You have him, and you just have him sexually harass...
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
And then
then eat a squid, and then get eaten by a squid.
He didn't even get eaten by the squid, he just got thrown away.
Do what you can with Bill Murray. Don't just make him a literal throwaway character.
Look, you either Zombieland Bill Murray, or you don't get fucking Bill Murray at all.
Other aspects of Kang that I liked were that you can see aspects of other Avengers in him, where he shoots lasers from the palm of his hands like Iron Man, and the core of his ship kind of has round symbols that are usually associated with sorcerers.
That's true. Oh yeah, actually.
And also the rings that he uses to travel, the ones that come up over his city and they're turning all blue and shit, it looks like the rings from Shang-Chi. And also possibly the same technology used in the Gauntlet by Kamala Khan.
The side characters were like just generic. Nobody really had any depth.
That LED face guy died and I felt nothing. All I wanted to know is how he came to be. I enjoyed Janet Van Dyne's fear, as weird as that may sound. But I'm talking more about her acting. She's like fidgeting with her wrist. She's visibly shaken. And it really just gives you a sense that everyone else involved here is really not as scared as they should be.
Get a grip on yourself! You're underreacting!
Yeah, nobody has a single fucking clue. It's like the beginning of Infinity War, when Hulk gets sent down. Starts panicking, like, Thanos, he's coming. And everyone's like, what the fuck? And it's like, oh, you should probably be careful, man. It's a pretty tough cookie.
You want to talk post-credits?
Yeah.
Council of Kangs, which we already discussed a little bit earlier. is so chaotic. Like, it's not... When you think Council of Kangs, you probably think more like a Council of Reeds.
Yeah,
where they're all
everybody's-
very formal, and it's like, we all know we're the smartest man in the room, so let's just get down to business. But with the Kangs, it's more like Mad Max. It's like a frat house. It's so wild. And I'm so excited to see how many of these villains and how chaotic they can be towards everyone. Literally everyone.
Especially because Jonathan Majors has such range anyway. And to be able to see him have that range with every character he plays as Kang be different. Even just seeing a couple of his clones just go fucking ape shit in the crowd, I'm like, this is gonna be sick.
I wonder if they're going to set up a specific Kang as the villain, as the overarching villain.
I think it's gonna come down to the three we saw, Raman Tut, the Pharaoh, and the other one.
Do you think if we ever see a variant of Kang that takes place in ancient Egypt that will get any reference to Apocalypse? Apocalypse being the character from X-Men.
I feel like it's possible.
Or even Moon Knight.
Oh, 100%. We have to have a Moon Knight battle against Raman Tut and Khonshu.
I could see him making references to the gods, but maybe not Moon Knight himself. Because I feel like Kang's on a different level than that.
They could literally just have it like Kang fought the gods back in the day. And so Khonshu has like a knowledge of this person.
Ants. I like the ants.
The ants were super cool.
I think, like I said, a little too ex machina. These ants lived 1,000 years in the span of a day. Cool. Why couldn't we see that? The ants were still honorable and, like, bound to Hank Pym. Like, they sought him out. They found him like a friend.
They found God.
Not even that. Like, they're probably far more advanced than he was at that point. And they're still like, yeah, we still got you, bro. Don't even worry about it. You got us here. Let us help you out.
You got us this far. It's the least we can do to you.
Do you think the ants rule that society now? Because there's just so many of them.
Oh, 100%.
They just take over and they're worse than Kang. Build us out tunnels. Ant-Man, when he splits apart all his potentials, let's call them, they work together like an ant colony. Also like the zombies from World War Z, but mostly like ants, where they just work as a single entity to push him up, and then he fucks up, which I thought was pretty funny at the time. It looked like it was aging everything, like everything was rusted. And when the giant version of him fell, it looked like he was been slightly dissolved.
Yeah,
Or like rapidly aged and decomposition was setting in.
I like the Baskin Robbins one. Also, the side.
It brings me joy to think that in one reality he never got fired from Baskin Robbins and just still works there.
Just still works there.
Even after the blip, he's still working at Baskin Robbins, and he's totally fine with it too.
I thought the characters were good. Cassie's recast. I mean, it doesn't really matter a whole lot. I don't want to sit
bothers
here.
me.
I don't want to sit here and be an armchair casting director, but it was like
It's a lot to deal with because 3 different actresses play her across 4 different movies. And if you're not paying attention, it becomes difficult to keep track of that sometimes because she's only in Endgame for like less than 10 seconds. She's in and then she's out. And not that the actress who's playing her now, I can't remember her name, is no good. I think she's a very good actress. But just keep it consistent is all.
I just thought the writing for her was pretty bad, so it just like she couldn't actually play up to the potential.
I think it's kind of cool that when it came down to it in the final fight, it was just fisticuffs. They're both stripped of their powers, and they're just wailing on each other.
And I like the fact that Scott just got the shit kicked out of him. Like, he's not a good fighter.
Well, definitely not as good as Kang.
No, 100%.
Imagine what Kang has to fight. Like, Scott's probably got some good boxing in.
Yeah, Scott's
based
got
off the first movie, but I think Kang's on a whole other level.
Oh, no, 100%. So, like, to see Scott just kind of like, I don't need to win. We just both need to lose. So it's like, shit, it's cold. Overall, I rate
How many ants out of 5?
3 Spider-Man out of 5.
I'll give it 3.5 ants out of 5. Because the writing leaves a little bit to be desired, as does the CGI, but the overarching story, I feel like, sets up a lot for the coming future of MCU films.